Yo guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to part 2 of the FMS Toyota FJ40 build series. In this video, I will be doing the first trail run and getting my first driving experience with this truck. And we're going to see what is good and what is bad and kind of figure out what direction we're going to go with this build. First off, I just want to say that I had a lot of fun driving this truck. Although it is even more limited in its capabilities than I thought it would be, I still really enjoy driving it. And look, I have no intention on trying to build this into a super capable rock crawler. I want to kind of retain the fun, challenging driving characteristics of this truck, where, like you'll see here, this is a trail, this is like an entrance trail to where I would go up and bring some of my more capable crawlers, and it became a real fun challenge to get this truck through here without tipping over or getting hung up on bumpers and so forth. You can see right here, just very basic section of trail that I wouldn't really even look at closely with any of my other crawlers. And it just becomes like a really fun challenge driving this truck. So this, my opinion in this video also is based on my experience with other more capable crawlers. I'd say this is my first hard body crawler, so it makes a huge difference having this much weight up high, and it does make it much more of a challenge, but that's what I enjoyed about it, and that's what makes this thing really cool. And it just looks absolutely amazing on the trail. And let's get into some of the details on this, kind of the pros and cons of what I noticed driving this for the first time. Let's start out with the control. So steering wise, the servo is pretty good. It's pretty well matched to the performance of the truck. The power is good enough. The speed is good enough. It is noisy, but it's not something that I would set out to replace immediately. I think I could be okay leaving this in here for a while and just driving it like that. The next part of the control, not so much, and that's the ESC. The ESC I mentioned in my initial video, and it's nothing new. If you've seen any other videos on this truck, you know that everyone complains about the ESC, and it's worse than I thought it was. When you get it out into really difficult terrain, especially going downhill on steep rock faces, it becomes nearly impossible to control it. The drag brake, while it is strong, and I appreciate a good drag brake that can hold the vehicle from rolling down a hill, the way it engages so abruptly makes it nearly impossible to descend any hill with this truck. You cannot, no matter how lightly you let the trigger go back out to neutral, which would be the drag brake, the very last part of the travel just immediately locks up the wheels, and if you're on anything steep, it sends the truck toppling over. Super difficult to control. It also surges too much on acceleration, and especially in reverse, it's way too abrupt. There's no real fine control of this ESC at all. It's a bit noisy, it's a bit weak feeling. The motor, on the other hand, does feel good, and it does have a good drag brake, so that makes me feel like the motor has some nice strong magnets in it, and that's going to be one of my first upgrades, is the ESC on this thing. So as you see it, this truck is box stock. The only thing I changed on this was the servo horn, and that was just for durability, for a durability standpoint, to get rid of the plastic servo horn, which I don't think has any place on any RC. I think they strip out or break way too easily. So I installed just a cheapy aluminum servo horn on here. Check out my first video on this if you want to see which one I went with. And no issues with that. And I will say I had no issues with the truck in general. The back doors did pop open here and there, so maybe I need to figure out a way to secure them a little bit better. But I toppled this thing over a lot more than I thought I would. There we go again. A lot more than I thought I would, and no issues. You know, I did glue on. I would recommend putting a little dab of E6000 or shoe glue on the mirrors when you pop them on, and then also the front marker lights, just because it's pretty common to lose those. So speed's pretty good. As fast as I want to go in a truck that is this unstable, I'd say. It's faster than walking pace, or comfortable walking pace. That's about half throttle. Another big part of control on any vehicle is the vehicle's stability, and that honestly is a big issue on this truck. Now, I knew this going in with a big, heavy, hard body on top, that it was going to be tougher to control, but it was a little more top heavy than I even thought it would be.
Very abrupt. It's start and stop.
So you see there, just further demonstrating how bad the ESC is. But as far as stability goes, I think there is one major flaw with this vehicle, and that is the stock wheels are way too light. They're just plastic wheels with standard single stage foam inserts. The tires are okay. They actually had better traction than I thought they would, but the inserts are pretty stiff. The wheels are just so light. The axles are light. There's nothing to really counteract all of that sprung weight up high on the body.
You gotta watch every little
So you see there, this truck just really wants to roll over super easy. Which, in a way, it makes it very realistic to drive. This is pretty much how you would have to drive a real full-scale truck.
We're gonna try it. Bumper, rear bumper getting hung up. Finding the limitation of these tires and inserts.
So, changing out
Kind of scared to bump it.
The wheels and tires is going to be a game changer with this thing. Just going with something heavier.
Really can't.
The steel beadlocks I'm putting on this truck, along with the Endura silicone inserts, will double the weight of the wheels on this truck, and that's going to be huge for stability and just keeping this thing much more planted. I am going to be installing some brass rings in the front wheels, beadlock rings, which are going to bump the front wheels up to about 350 grams a piece, which is pretty extreme, but I think with the weight of this body, it's going to be pretty good. So I can experiment with that a little bit. And
so this will be a good test to come back, do some mods, come back, see if we can slow crawl this, or at least, I mean, close there. No. This is what I said I wasn't going to do, is go out and beat this thing up. I'm glad I glued the mirrors on in the front signal lights. So we're going to skip that one and come back. Let's see if we can get up over here. I'd like to get up on this rock slab and see what it can do, but I don't know if we're even getting up this.
So it'll be really interesting to come back with different wheels and tires, just a lot more weight with different inserts, and see if I'm able to make this climb here.
I don't think so. Way too steep. So usually I try to tackle this line here, extremely steep, go through the crack here, also very steep and difficult. We're going to start out with something a lot easier and just try to traverse this little crack here, see if we can make it up. And this way at least we have like a baseline. Oh yeah, it's doing it. Okay, so that's something. Didn't lift any wheel. Let's turn around up here, see if we can come back down. And even just literally just being up there and turning around kind of makes me nervous. I'm like, oh, don't gas it too much. You can roll it just by trying to turn it on a, see, even this kind of makes me nervous. Oh, this ESC is horrible. It just releases 100%. Second you give it any little tap of throttle, it completely releases the drag brake. You have no control of it. And then when you let off the throttle, it immediately engages 100% braking, and it just wants to flip over. Going up a little bit steeper line here. It's a little further left of what we just went up. Rear bumper is dragging. you will hear me mention the rear bumper, and what I'm really referring to is the little kind of low spot under the rear hitch for the trailer hitch on the bumper. There's like a black plastic piece, almost like a little tray that sits under that would protect the hitch, and it gets caught up pretty easily because it's just like
firm that rubber is on the tire.
it's a 90-degree angle that sticks down quite far. So I'm not sure if I'm going to ditch that at some point. It does kind of help protect the rear bumper, but it gets caught up quite a bit.
I'm not even going to attempt it. See if we can even make the bypass here. I can definitely see myself installing a winch on this truck and actually using it. I think we can get this. That rear bumper, man. Oh, jeez. Insert's way too stiff, too. Oh, yeah. Okay, this might be a bit sketchy. I'm gonna go and stand kind of on the downhill side of this, because if this thing rolls off of here, it's gonna be in pieces. I'm gonna see if I can find a line up this. It's a bit off camber, which is what makes me nervous, because that is already, no, there's no way. Maybe a different approach. All right, so trying a different approach here. Seeing if I could hit it a little more direct head on. I mean, to be fair, if this was like a 1-to-1, this would be like, what's that crazy line called out in Utah, where you just see trucks like careening down it? Dragon's Back, I don't know, something like that. Okay, I'm gonna play it safe and kind of go more up the middle.
So you can see the truck has the power to do some pretty steep climbs. It just needs a little bit more stability.
Get to the top here and pause for a minute.
So the gearing is good. The motor seems to be good. It's really just the ESC that is holding it back.
Now I'm pretty sure I usually descend here. There's no way in hell. I'll roll into it, but with the way this drag brake works, there's no way in hell. I'll be ready to catch it here. I just want to see how the approach is. The approach isn't even, and I'm not bashing on this truck, guys. I knew what I was getting into here. I'm just trying to, whoa. All right, so that's just literally letting the drag brake. If I give it any, it's crazy steep. Is it actually gonna get this? Whoa, okay, the very end did not. Sketchy. But hey, this is the most realistic off-road driving experience I've had in a long time, because I'm as scared driving this as I would be my Land Rover in the woods. Yeah, I don't see this happening. So my phone is perfectly level right there. It's steep. Oh, jeez. Okay, how's that? These doors in the back, you know, not the tightest. Yeah, all right, so there's no way. There's no way it's gonna do that. Let's see if we can get up. Let's see if we can get up. I've never even tried this one. I think this is doable. We're gonna go right up in this little flatter section here. Let's see, even this. All right, kind of at its limit. And then you have this dip up here that
on any other RC, I wouldn't be concerned. Straight ahead, if you were to make a mistake there, straight ahead, yeah, that's like 20 feet down. So let's not do that. Let's try to find a safe route down. I think bugs crawling on me. Oh, it looks so cool though, man. Hold on, I gotta take pictures up here. Okay, got a few pics. Oh, it's so bad. It's a switch. Going down is really scary because you cannot, there is no modulation. Look at that. I'm literally having to just modulate the trigger with the slightest little hair input, and it's just jumping around. Go for one more kind of difficult line here. Oh, it's like a shovel. So you can see here that I am pushing this truck beyond what would be realistic for a full-size FJ40, but I needed to figure out exactly what it's capable of. Again, I'm not going to try to build this into a serious rock crawler. I do want to improve the performance. Even if I don't always take it into terrain like this, I would prefer it to have the capabilities to do an obstacle here and there that is, you know, of this difficulty without rolling it down a hill and breaking things, because I love the way this body looks. I want to keep it as intact as possible. So even if I choose not to drive it in very difficult terrain, I want it to be capable of doing it. When you're transitioning into these downhills like that, oh my god. Right, this might be a good little challenge for it here. A little bit of dirt, a little bit of rock.
So in my initial video, I mentioned that I'll be running a 2200 battery, and that's what I have in here. It's a 2200 milliamp hour 3S battery. Now, I'm curious, I didn't try a 2S. I'm wondering if some of the jerkiness with the ESC is just because it is on 3S, and maybe it's not really tuned for that level of power, but again, I'm not interested in keeping this ESC. I have a Hobbywing 1080 G2 that I'll be putting in here that's just going to work much better all around. So, but it is possible that this could work better on 2S. And also, as far as the battery goes, I got some really good runtime with this. I came back, I was running this for, I'd say, a solid 45 minutes, and when I came home I still had a little over 50% battery life, so I'm real happy with the 2200. It fits in there extremely well. It's not overly heavy, and I just bring a spare one with me, and I think I can get about 2 hours of runtime, even with the brushed motor, which typically aren't as efficient as a brushless motor. So stay tuned if you want to see the next part of this series is going to be the upgrades are going to begin. So that's going to be the ESC, the wheels and tires. I'm going to change out the controller and receiver, and we're going to see how much better we can make this truck. I'm going to come back and run this same trail and just see how much better it gets, and we'll do a little split screen, and I'll show you side by side what that looks like, and most importantly, if I can improve the overall experience of just taking this truck out in the woods and having a fun time with it. And that's my ultimate goal, is just to go out and really have fun with this truck. Okay. Which, don't get me wrong, guys, I may be bringing up a lot of negatives about this truck, but that's really what the point of this video was, is to go out and figure out what's holding it back and how we can improve it. So I did have a blast driving this thing. It is a lot of fun, even right out of the box. You can go out and have a great time with this truck. But aside from the ESC, I think if you've driven any other crawler that has a really good ESC motor combo, you're gonna know that this is just bad.
This thing just lets loose. course, all the parts are there. We got mirrors, we got lights, we got wipers, doors are attached. It's all good. Let's try another way up. So that's going to do it for the first drive. Like I mentioned, a lot of fun. I figured out what the weak points are, and that's going to be the subject of part 3. We're going to start getting into some mods, ESC, wheels, tires, controller. We're going to come back out and run it again and see what improvements we make. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for checking out the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later. Okay, so this is good. I feel like this is kind of at the limits. And then we'll come back and see after some mods. Yeah, no control. No control going downhill at all. It's either full brake, which is way too much, or it's way too much throttle. So, on that note, before I really destroy this truck, I'm gonna go home and rip this ESC out and throw it in the trash, because that's where it belongs.